Hello friends, it's Cindy Brumbaugh from CindyLeeBDesigns.com, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you this corner pop-up fun fold card. Has a neat little mechanism that folds up from the corner, folds in, folds back up, and it has a slot here for a gift card or a little treat of cash for a graduation or a birthday. So this card, I use the Tropical Escape Suite that you can find on pages 120 to 121 of the new annual catalog, and it has some really neat images of tropical leaves here with sentiments that are mostly love and thanks, you're the greatest. This card, I wanted to make a birthday card, so I added some sentiments from two other sets we have. I used the Beautiful Day that had the happy birthday and the Dragonfly Dreams that has the To a Wonderful Friend, enjoy your special day. I love it when the fonts and different stamp sets in our catalog match and you can interchange them. So I wanted to make it birthday, so I chose to use these two stamp sets with this Tropical Sheep stamp. Chic, not a tropical sheep, a tropical chic stamp set. It comes bundled with the tropical Thinlits dies. I love these dies, cutting out all those leaves and the flower, and then it has this really cool square die that cuts out a see-through foliage, and so we are going to be using that on this card here on the front. So to get started, I wanted to show you also this beautiful paper. It's the Tropical Escape paper stack. There's 48 sheets of 6x6 paper. It has the new colors of Granny Apple Green and Shaded Spruce with the perfect complement of Blushing Bride. And I also love that it has these great black and white patterns in here too. So you've got your classic black and white, and black is also interspersed among these pinks and greens on other pieces. So I love that paper, one of my favorite ones in the new catalog. So to get started, we have to make this fun fold here. Okie doke. Now this card does have a little bit of depth and dimension to it. So it's probably going to be one that you're going to have to add some extra postage or take it to the postmaster and ask them to hand stamp it, hand post, you know, for the stamps on it. But I would say if you take the time to make this card with its fun sentiments on it and dimensions and these nice lustrous pearls on here, you won't mind adding another 10 cents to your card when you send that to somebody. So to get started, let's start out with an 8.5 by 8.5 square, and I used the Granny Apple Green and I just cut it to 8.5 by 8.5. And so then I'm going to take my Stampin' trimmer and I am going to put one of the edges, since it's a square, it doesn't matter which edge, and you're going to put it with the left side on the left side of the cutting groove at 4 1/4. And we're going to be using our scoring blade. So that means I already took my dark cutting blade and I tucked it down at the bottom so I don't mess up and cut, like I will admit I've already done on a video. So here we go. We're just going to score it down at 4 1/4, and then we want to score it on the other side. So you're going to just turn it either to the left or to the right, 90 degrees, and you're going to put that left side at 4 1/4 again and score with a light scoring blade. And now you have your 8.5 by 8.5 scored in half on this side and on this side, so you actually have a square with 4 equal quadrants. Now what we have to do on this card, as you can see, it folds in where it pops back out, and then we have a pocket that's created down here. So we need to get a diagonal that's going to go across from corner to corner. Now, when you put it into your Stampin' trimmer, it doesn't matter which two corners you pick, but you're going to put one corner with the tip in the groove of your Stampin' trimmer, and you're going to put the other tip on the diagonal on the opposite side, and you're going to have them both in, and then you're just going to score on the diagonal. So now you have your 8.5 by 11 that's got its 4 quadrants, and then these 2 quadrants here are 2 triangles. Now whenever you go to see how this card is put together, you see that this is the inside that pops down to close, pops open that way. So that's going to be how that quadrant goes there. And then this is going to fold over to make a pocket. So the first thing I do is I just, on the score lines, take my bone folder and make a nice crease on that score line. And then I do the same the opposite way and get a nice crease there. And then I remember that this is going to be the part that's going to be popping down and opening up. So this is the part that's going to be popping open, okay? So that is that portion. Now this portion is going to create a pocket over here. So this is going to go over and this is going to fold this way and create a pocket. So now you can kind of see that it's really these two corners where the diagonal was, they're going to close to meet each other. And when you put the card down, you'll notice that this one pops open, just like on this card. This is the part that's going to close and then pop open. That's this piece. I'd say that's your upper right quadrant. Then your lower right quadrant is going to create your pocket. But we're not going to adhere this pocket together because we need to decorate the inside of the card here. So we're going to have to decorate this part. So it's going to be really hard to get our hands in there if we do that. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that we have our card in the right orientation to decorate the front. So you're going to have your card here, you're going to put your pocket down, then you're going to close your card, and you're going to know that you have the card in the right, like say you decide to do this, and you're creasing all of your folds, and then you're like, where is it? Remember that these 2 points here where these folded triangles are should be on your bottom right. So the bottom right are these 2 points so that you can decorate the front of your card. So the front of this card was decorated with 2 cutouts made by this square. Now this does not cut out a square. It cuts out the inside of a square. So if you would take a 5x5 and put this in the middle, you're going to have the inside cut out, but whatever size you cut your piece of paper to is the size of it, because it doesn't cut along the outside edge, it only cuts on inside the square. So if you make this 4 1/4, it's going to be a 4 1/4 inch square, and it's going to have a thicker edge on it. Now on this piece I did, this is a 3 by 3 inch square. So what I did is I cut a granny apple green, as you can see down here, and I cut a shaded spruce. Now what you're going to do is, I saw on one of our Stamping Up artisans, Jennifer Polly, she's from another country, and she had a sample of a card she did where she layered these. So that's where I got the idea. So I took and I made one of these in Granny Apple Green that is probably laying somewhere that I can't find. But what I need to show you is how I created this piece that layered on top of it. So you can see here where I layered this, I had to cut out this corner and this corner. So what I did is I just made sure which way I wanted it, and I kind of liked it with the spindly leaf right here, the little feathery leaf on that corner. So that meant I wanted to have the little like chubby leaf up here in this corner here. So what I knew I had to do is cut out these corners. So what I did was I just took my paper snips and I just started snipping, trying to get right along that line there to keep a nice line there. And then I knew I had to go into this corner, but it'd be easier to get this cut out first. And I cut that out, cut that out, cut that out. And so now I just want to get this right here in the corner. So it's a little easier whenever I get it. So you're going to get that. So you've got the corner cut. Now it's attached to this chubby leaf here. So you just had to come in here and snip that and then get off that little edge here. Okay, so now I got this part taken out. Now I need to get this part taken out. And then I just go into this corner with my paper snips, snip, go in on this corner, and then I just have to get this snipped. And I just snipped them as close as I could to like get the shape of the leaf here, and then you just snip off this part. that part, this little guy here, and then this little last part here. So there, now I have got this frame. Let's say I wanted to just use this frame and like put something else popping through here, but what I'm able to do now is just layer that on top of the Granny Apple Green. So what I did on this card, I already did this for another video that did not come out to my specifications. And what I did on this card is I had the designer paper from the Tropical Escape 6x6 paper, and I cut it down to 4 inches by 4 inches so that I went in 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides, because the front of the card is 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And what I did is on this card I made it horizontal, but I actually think I like it better vertical on this one. So what I did is, remember, when you bring this card, when you go to put the front together, you want these 2 points down here at the right-hand corner. So what I did is I put snail on the back of that, and I just put it onto the front of my card. I don't have my card exactly straight, so I am going to score it together there. And then I just put it on to the front of my card with 1/8 of an inch border around all 4 sides, and then just adhere that. And then I took on the back of these, and I just used some little dots of Tombow glue, or you could use your tape runner, your snail adhesive, and I put down my Granny Apple Green first, and then I adhered my shaded spruce on top of that. And then I took some of my scrap 1/2 inch pieces that are always left over when you're making the insides of cards, and I stamped it using the shaded spruce. Beautiful. Oh, this green. Just when you think we don't need another green, we do. It's a beautiful evergreen spruce color. So I stamped "To a Wonderful Friend" from the Dragonfly Dreams, and I put it on there, used my hexagon punch to cut the pendant end on there, and then I die cut 2 of the flowers after I stamped them in Blushing Bride. Now this card, as I said, has a little bit of dimension to it because I put dimensionals under the sentiment, and then I adhered the pink flower directly to the sentiment strip there. And then I put 2 dimensionals under this flower, so it really popped it up more. So now I've got the front of my card done. Now whenever you go to open this card, you're going to notice it's going to seem a little bit odd to you that this is the way it should, you're writing, and this is the front of the card visually. But when you open this up, you're going to have this happy birthday sentiment on the back side, but they're actually going the opposite direction. So you have to make sure that when you're doing it, that you're maybe looking at the picture of my card, and then you'll know exactly which way to do it. Or if you're using different stamps, just remember, when you open the card, look at it and see how your eye would look at that. So the next part I did is I knew I had to do this corner here. Okay, so this corner. So I took another beautiful piece out of the Tropical Escape 6x6. This one had a little bit lighter of the Granny Apple Green with the shaded spruce and the Blushing Bride. And I put that on the inside of my card, and it was 4 inches by 4 inches as well. And you'll notice that I pulled the colors from the outside. The outside of the colors are the 2 greens and the pink. And then on the inside, I picked a designer paper that had the 2 greens and the pink. I love matching up the colors from one side to the other. So then I took the shaded spruce again, because I used it for the sentiment on here. On here. And I used the happy birthday from the Beautiful Day here. And that sentiment has a beautiful font in it that matches the To a Wonderful Friend just wonderfully. So then I took a piece of 1 1/4 by 4 inches. So I kept my sentiment piece of Whisper White at 4 inches, and this was at 1 1/4. So that meant I took my Granny Apple Green border underneath there. It's still 4 inches, but it's 1 1/2. And don't worry about writing down all these measurements or that you're going to forget them. because I have all the measurements and the supplies I use and the colors and everything on my blog post for this card. So now we have the outside of the card done, and then we open it up and we have this quadrant done. Now we want to work on this quadrant here. And that was simply done by taking the largest, I think I just messed up the camera here. There we go. I took the largest stitched shape frame and I cut a piece a little bit bigger than that, and then I stamped using the images in this Tropical Chic stamp set. I used the flower and I did Blushing Bride. I used these little pieces of, could be petals or little pieces of leaves, and I used some Granny Apple Green there. And then I carried over the Shaded Spruce on the sentiment again, and that was from the Dragonfly Dreams. And what I did was I cut it out then with the largest of the stitched shapes squares. The stitched shapes comes with ovals, circles, and squares. And so I used the largest of the squares, and then I took the largest of the layering squares. Now the layering squares have 16 dies in there with squares and scallops. So I used the largest scallop and I die cut Shaded Spruce from that scallop, and then I just adhered it to that, and it gave a nice dark green border to pop out the sentiment on there. And then it's going to go right here on this upper right quadrant here. Now you don't want to get any glue down in here because this is going to close and then open back up. So what you're going to do is just put your adhesive up in this upper corner here, the upper corner here, and then when you put this on this quadrant of the card, it's going to be open here, so whenever you close it, it can open back up again. There we go. So now we're going to work on making this pocket. So when I make this pocket, I like to use my Terran tape because it's very strong adhesive. Ever try to pull that apart? Whoo, you might as well just start all over again. So I put that right flush against the bottom of there, and you don't even have to use your snips for that because it tears easily with your hands. So then you're just going to take off this protective coating that's on your Terran tape. And if you have trouble with that, just push it back down again and then find a place to pull it up. I use my paper piercers or the end of my paper snips. Okay, so then we're going to take where this fold here and we're going to fold down, and you'll see now we have this pocket, but we have to have this adhered together. So what I do is I usually use the Terran tape again because it keeps it nice and secure, and I'll put it right to the edge. And then you don't have to be as careful to have it be on the edge as you do on the inside because you want to have enough room to put some money or a note or a gift card. So you don't want to have your, when you're putting the pocket down, you have to have it right against the edge. But on this one, you want to have it against the edge on this side because you want it to. Now I'm going to put another piece down there in a second, but I'm going to get this piece done first. So I'm going to take off the protective coating here using my paper piercer. If you don't have one of these babies, it's like a scalpel to a doctor. So there we go. We're going to put just one little piece here because I like to have this bottom corner really adhered nicely so it has a clean edge on a fold. Okay, so now we're just going to fold back, and we have created now our pocket here. And see, if you would put this Terran tape up too far, you're not going to have enough room. So I always put it right along the edge. Now, as you'll see, I got a little bit of edge here. That's when you want to definitely tuck it back underneath that piece there because you don't want that Terran tape to adhere to your card. So now we're almost done, kids. We got this pocket created. And what I did here on this card is I wanted to allow myself the option of writing a note in here and not even using the pocket, or writing a little note here and tucking some money in there or the gift card. So what I did there is I took a 3 3/4 inch piece of Whisper White, and I also took a 3 3/4 inch square of this pretty pink designer paper that's in that paper stack, and I wanted to cut it in half. So to cut it in half, I just do what I did when we scored our other one on the diagonal, just go from one point to the next point, and we getting a little crazy here on my desk. So I took my 2 diagonal corners, made sure it was nice and tight, and then I just cut it in half. If you try to cut into a point on paper, you're going to get resistance there. So you'll notice that I started in the middle and then I just went down. So then you end up with equal sized triangles, okay? So then I did that with Whisper White and a piece of designer paper. So that ends up giving me 2 of these and 2 of these. So I have 2 to make with another card. So what I did for this card is I took and put snail on the designer paper, and I put that down in this corner. So I put it right in this corner, and that gives me a nice border of Granny Apple Green around there. And then I take the other triangle of Whisper White, put adhesive on it, and then I put that up in this corner. And then that gives me a nice border of Granny Apple Green around that triangle. So then I saw this piece was a little bare here, this corner. So I stamped the large leaf in Granny Apple, and then this jaggedy spiky one in the shaded spruce and another pink flower. And then I created this pretty little flower ensemble here. So what I did is I put some adhesive on my Granny Apple big leaf, and I just noticed that my tape runner ran out on me, so I am going to use my tear and tape to finish off this card here. And then I put this flower here on. You don't need to use the tear and tape, but when your tape runner runs out on camera, you have to. So then I put the flower right there, and then I'm going to use a little more tear and tape. Some of my girls use tear and tape in class all the time. It's really easy to maneuver. And so I just put that down in the corner against that pretty Blushing Bride pink. Okay, this is where we get a little bulky and carried away, but when I started the front of this card and I put a pearl here and a pearl here, and I opened up my card and I said, oh, darn, we need to put a pearl right there. Oh, and then there's these pretty flowers here. Why not put some pearls on there? So I put a pearl there. And then I put a pearl here. Oh gosh, we need another pearl. So I put a pearl here. I put some tiny pearls on it first, and they just didn't seem to have the same effect as these gorgeous bigger pearls. So I went ahead and put the bigger pearls on here, a big pearl there. Then when I closed it, I just popped it closed, and I had the pearls on the outside here. So like I said, it takes a little bit of time and a little bit of layering and a little bit of designer paper and a lot of pearls, but in the end, it's just a pretty, pretty card. And this will fit into an A2 sized envelope. But just make sure you check with your post office to see if you need a little extra postage with it. So you could get out the Tropical Escape suite with the Tropical Chic stamp set and the Tropical Escape Designer Series paper and make this card. You can pop a gift card in there or some cash, put another sentiment on here. You can find all the measurements, the colors, the stamp sets, the framelits, everything I used on this card you can find on my blog post for this card. That's at cindyleeBdesigns.com. If you have any questions, you can always email me at cindyleeb@gmail.com, or you can make a card and send me a snapshot of it, and you can do that at 724-323-2296. If you have any questions, you can text me as well. I love hearing from you guys. Thanks for buzzing by, friends.